So this is our overall process model, the one which we've been using to try and map the journey an entrepreneur takes as they move their idea to something that creates value. And as we've already seen, there are plenty of opportunities in the social sphere for innovation, whether it's about making a difference to our local community or dealing with sustainability challenges or the big problems of making the world a better place. There's plenty to play for. Well, of course, many potential social entrepreneurs have the passion to change something in the world, and as we've seen, there are plenty of targets to choose from. But passion isn't enough. They also need the classic entrepreneur's skill of spotting an opportunity, a connection, a possibility which could develop. It's all about searching for new ideas which might bring a different solution to an existing problem. For example, the microfinance alternative to conventional banking or street-level money lending. And as we've seen elsewhere in the book, the skill is often not so much discovery, finding something completely new, as making connections, links between different things. In the social entrepreneurship field, the gaps could be very wide. For example, connecting rural farmers to high-tech international stock markets requires considerably more vision to bridge the gap than spotting the need for a new variety of futures trading software. So social entrepreneurs need both passion and vision, plus considerable broking and connecting skills. Spotting an opportunity is one thing, but getting others to believe in it, and more importantly, back it, is something else. Whether it's an inventor approaching a venture capitalist or an internal team pitching a new product idea to the strategic management of a large organization, the story of successful entrepreneurship is about convincing other people. Now, in the case of social entrepreneurship, the problem's compounded by the fact that the targets for such a pitch may not be immediately apparent. Even if you could make a strong business case and have thought through the likely concerns and questions, who do you approach to try and get backing? There are some foundations and not-for-profit organizations, but in many cases, one of the important skill sets of a social entrepreneur is networking, the ability to chase down potential funders and backers and engage them in their project. Even within an established organization, the presence of a structure may not be sufficient. For many social entrepreneurship projects, the challenge is that they take the firm in very different directions, some of which fundamentally challenge its core business. For example, a proposal to make drugs cheaply available in the developing world might sound a wonderful idea from a social entrepreneurship perspective, but it poses huge challenges to the structure and operations of a large pharmaceutical firm with complex economics around research funding, distribution, and so on. It's also important to build coalitions of support. Securing backing for social innovation is very often a distributed process, but the power and the resource is often not concentrated in the hands of a single decision maker. There might not be a board or a venture capitalist to pitch the ideas to. Instead, it's a case of building momentum and a groundswell for change. And there's a need to provide practical demonstrations of what otherwise might be seen as idealistic pipe dreams. The role of pilots is important here. Pilots that get taken up and gather support is well proven. For example, in the fair trade model or microfinance, these ideas didn't suddenly happen. They took a lot of pilot and prototyping before they could diffuse. Social innovation requires extensive creativity in getting hold of the diverse resources to make things happen, especially since the funding base may be limited. Networking skills are critical here, engaging different players and aligning them with the core vision. One of the most important elements in much social innovation is scaling up, taking what might be a good idea implemented by one person or in a local community and amplifying it so that it has widespread social impact. For example, Anshu Gupta's original idea was to recycle old clothes found on rubbish dumps or cast away, and he wanted to do this helping poor people in his local community in India. He began with items of clothing, but the idea has now been scaled so that he and his organization collect and recycle 40,000 kilograms of cloth every month across 23 states in India. The principle's been applied to other materials, for example, recycling old cassettes to make mats and soft furnishings. It's a good example of growing the venture and scaling it from small beginnings. One of the other things around social innovation is making sure that the vision, which can be idealistic, actually delivers the value that's intended. Passionate commitment is clearly important, but social entrepreneurs can be accused of idealism and having their head in the clouds. What's needed is a clear plan, a clear strategy to translate that vision step by step into something which really does create value. The last step of our process model, of course, is the first step. It's learning from our experience, capturing the value from that experience, and feeding that back so that the next time we try and develop a social venture, we can do it more effectively.